Welcome back, everybody, to the World Championship Series. We're in Group B, and we're also in the decider match. One of these two players coming up is going to the quarterfinals. One of them is definitely going to be adding to the other French player that is Lilbo in the quarterfinals. France has two players in the quarterfinals. After that, just win by FireCake. A good and a big moment for France, Todd. We'll start off there.
Yeah, you know, it's been a while actually that these guys, they've been coming up, they've been doing really well in the European scene, especially online. For some of them, FireCake in particular, he's been already making his mark in WCS for quite a few seasons now already. Always performing very, very well in it, so I'm not surprised that these guys, they're playing this well here.
In Group B here, we saw Polt, and we looked at Polt. He went through in first place, and it was always going to be a battle for advancement between the three European players. Two of them remain, and they're both, you know, they both have their very own background in the way that they've come into the WCS here. But right now, fighting for the round of 8, how much does it really mean for each of them? Because you look at MarineLorD, he's never played in the WCS before. It's his first season. He comes in, he has a chance to go to the round of 8. FireCake was in this very same position in Season 1 and tripped over versus Polt, and now he has a chance versus, as you can say and compare, an easier opponent.
This here, I mean, it's a great opportunity for MarineLorD, as it is for FireCake, and I think it's one of these opportunities where a player is hanging on and trying their best, training all day, every day, and they keep getting knocked out in the qualifiers, they keep getting knocked out in Challenger League, and then to make it into Premier, to make it to the round of 16, to make it here to this stage, MarineLorD really wants this game. He really, really wants to win this and push through to the round of 8.
Okay, so let's talk about them together before we introduce them out a little bit here. So it's a known fact that they don't have the best relationship between each other. How does that play into this matchup when you know that you're going up against a guy that is technically a rival, that is a guy that you want to beat because you don't like him as an individual? Have you had kind of experiences yourselves as professionals in the past?
Definitely when I was a younger player, especially, you get, I mean, there's always a bit of ego involved in any competition. You want to be the best player you can, and when there's someone out there and they keep knocking you down or cutting off tournament opportunities, maybe you share some heated words and moments of passion, things get very emotional and it becomes even more important. And these matches are really the moments which you feel define you as a player, because you want to overcome your nemesis. You want to overcome that player, and it's always so important, and you feel so crushed if you lose.
You didn't say with who, though.
With who? You know, obviously not as successful as these guys up on these stages, so my old rivalries are small and insignificant in comparison.
What about you, though, Todd? I mean, you've had a long pro gaming career.
Yeah, maybe with Stefano when he was coming up. I remember one day, you know, we were facing each other a whole bunch, not just in, you know, French tournaments, but in some online European ones, some pretty good tournaments. And we didn't really have the best of relationships, and also like we were two of the best French players. And I remember I really wanted to win against him. I'm pretty sure it was the same for him. And we all know the rest of the history. He went on to become the best foreigner, and I became a commentator. So.
Thank you for being so honest here, Todd. But also the nationalism side of things too. I remember when I was a player back in the day, UK players, you always look at them and be like, okay, this is actually really serious. I'm the #1, not you. You've had the similar experiences as well, especially in the early days of StarCraft II, likewise in Australia. That must play a big impact on this. Not just a guy you don't like and a guy you want to beat, but that national pride, almost. Yeah,
definitely. But in this case, I feel like for MarineLorD, it's more going to be about making it into this top 8 here of WCS, which is pretty much the thing that he's building up to do for the last, 2 years? That he's been full-time and practicing exclusively for that. Like, it's crazy to think that it comes down to like this one moment, this one series against another Frenchman in the end. So this is really cool to see this, I think.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to bring these two players onto the stage.
You gentlemen are killing me. All the fans out here are eating some delicious food. I can smell it. I'm standing here waiting to introduce the players, keeping me waiting out here, but finally it's time. The first player we're going to introduce to get a little taste of what the domestic rivalry is like in France for StarCraft. It's the man who just said, I don't care who I'm playing, who's in my way, I want to get to that round of 8. It's going to be FireCake! His opponent, if he can make it to the round of 8, he'll get that worldwide spotlight and attention he's been seeking, that he's been hungry for. It's going to be fellow countryman, MarineLorD. Who will be the second French player to go to the round of 8 to represent France as the strongest country outside of Korea right now in StarCraft? It's time to find out. Players, shake each other's hands, enter your booths, and everyone get ready for a spectacular match.
A handshake that sent ripples around the world there, Todd, between these two players going head to head. I know outside of this rivalry, like you've brought up, a massive, massive moment for both sides. Neither have been to the round of 8 in any tournament at this level and this prestige. This is a huge moment for MarineLorD, who's finally, after years and hours, and you know what it's like as professional gamers, you put so much work in, and this is what you want, this is what you strive for, and he's almost there into the round of 8 to his highest performance yet. Likewise, the same story for FireCake, but at the end of the day, it's just a StarCraft game. It's Terran versus Zerg. It's a best of 3. What are your thoughts on who is the clear favorite and who is not? Pick.
There is no clear favorite in this game at all. This is going to be a really close match, most likely. Of course, there's always the chance one player figures out a very tricky way of tripping the other player over. But I actually was lucky enough to commentate their match yesterday on the B stream, and it was one of the closest matches I have ever seen. MarineLorD looked great in the first game. FireCake tripped him over with a great engagement. It was just really, really powerful play from FireCake coming back there. And in the second game, it looked like it was going to be a quick 2-0 for FireCake, and MarineLorD hung on with the most impressive mech defense I've ever seen.
And MarineLorD, for a lot of you that don't really know him too well, is one of the up-and-coming and could be the next Snoot, the next Bunny when it comes to Terran. He's so very, very talented at StarCraft II, yet to have that breakout performance, Todd.
Yeah, like I said, you know, he's a guy who's he's been building up this performance for quite some time now. He's been, you know, full-time practicing really hard, doing well in the European scene, but a lot of that is actually on the ladder, you know, where it doesn't really matter. You don't really win anything. FireCake is actually improving quite a bit, you know, with his body language here.
That is the biggest mouse pad I have ever seen. Sorry to cut you off there, Todd, but
it's pretty big.
It goes underneath his keyboard. It goes from his mouse underneath his keyboard.
Tielo does the same too, though.
Comes outside the door in the booth and actually goes all the way to MarineLorD's booth.
That's his good luck blanket as well, of course. FireCake, though, he's looking determined there. Canadian crowd anticipating this match very, very much. Looking there at the map picks. Coda coming out first as FireCake's pick. No surprise there. He's had some great success against Terrans in the past on it. Vani coming out second as MarineLorD's pick. A very good map. He has favored Bio rather than Mech on it in the past. But first of all, let's talk about Coda's. Now, this was FireCake's pick. It's a very strong map. What you guys need to watch out for in this map in the Zerg vs Terran matchup is FireCake plays very standard. He wants to establish a 4th base and get creep spread out front. So depending on where he takes that base, we need to watch how far he can extend his creep spread, and that's a very clear sign of how well FireCake's doing in the game. MarineLorD has to try to push in and stop it.
The thing about MarineLorD is that he can play both Bio and Mech very, very well, I think. And on the map like Coda, it kind of feels like it's a little bit encouraging to try and play Mech, I think, for him. So definitely going to look towards possibly seeing something like that. And he actually sounded very confident. I spoke a little bit with him. He told me he's going to be 2-0, used a few jokes with a few not so flattering words for FireCake in there as well. But the general consensus, though, from what we saw before out of these two, is that it's going to be close. Even Funka, he's been spending a lot of time with these French players when he's observing. I asked him, and he told me he thinks he's going to be a 2-1 and very close.
All right, a battle for advancement as France go up against each other. Two rivals, head to head. Which one goes through and which one goes home? Let's begin the decider match of Group B.
Who will be the second part of the French trifecta to make it to the round of 8? That's the big question here as MarineLorD goes up against FireCake, both of which are looking for that fantastic run here through WCS, both of them with a lot to gain.
Worlds divide round of 16 and round of 8. Like, round of 16 is a pretty good showing.
Yeah.
Round of 8 is, again, that kind of caliber showing where it's like, wow, you're one of the best. And it's really, really cool that it lined up that it's MarineLorD versus FireCake for that honor to join Lilbo. Lilbo is the guy that the French are calling the best right now, and really Europe's calling the best, potentially. We'll have to see how he does in the round of 8. But between these two, it's a little bit closer. It's a lot closer. I like what Pick said. He said there's absolutely no clear favorite here.
Well, let's get into it. Game number 1, spawning up to the top left-hand corner. It's our red Terran representing Millennium. It is MarineLorD. Down to the bottom right-hand corner, we have our blue Zerg. It's Maxman himself with his own agenda. It is FireCake.
Coda has been the first map in a lot of these best of 3s. This is a 1v1 map, very straightforward in a lot of ways. Your third is hard to take, but not impossible, given the standard for map pools. In ZVT, of course, the third base is not nearly as in high of contention as really the fourth base. Terrans, typically their fourth base is getting really close to where the creep is starting to kind of come in. That fourth base will allow them to have kind of infinity bioforce and really push the pace. And if the Zerg can make that base the point of contention, they're in pretty good shape. That's usually where you're going to see a lot of the altercations.
And I'm wondering how FireCake really approaches this series. Of course, in the previous one, we saw MarineLorD being able to eventually defeat FireCake. Even though he was in a terrible position in game number 2, I actually asked him about that game afterwards, and he actually said that he still felt in control. He still that wasn't intended.
Every time.
He still felt like he was in a great spot to be able to actually win out that game, even though he was pinned in against it. So I think FireCake here might have to change things up a little bit to defeat MarineLorD.
Yeah, you know, I mean, speaking completely just mathematically, yes, he lost 1-2 yesterday. Very close series, and I guess what a lot of people came away from it is that it really could have gone either way, and it went MarineLorD's way. So changing it up, probably something that he should consider. I mean, that's just StarCraft in general. Anytime you face an opponent that you faced a few times, especially if you didn't win, if you didn't dominate, it's like, oh, maybe I should do something a little bit different. Do have that Reaper poking forward here. Doesn't get a whole lot of information. Sees a Queen, though. And even seeing a Queen at that stage means that this Reaper was not super rushed out. A second one's going to hold back at home in case there's any kind of slowlings looking to perhaps delay and sometimes even really cause problems for that low ground command center. But kind of just looking at this, I'm really excited because, again, that round of 8 is such a big finish. And MarineLorD is a player that Europe has hyped so heavily. A lot of the European players and pros are talking about him as one of the absolute best. Well, round of 16, that ain't it. Round of 8, you're starting to get closer. And then for FireCake, make no mistake, everyone's kind of saying the same thing, and you could see a little bit of it on the stage. He's not the most popular guy amongst the pros. It's a lot of attitude stuff, but you know what? If you back that up with top-level play, that'll work. Yeah,
definitely. I think Chobra said it best in one of his intros. He is the renegade, is FireCake. He's one of the guys that is just looking to do things on his own pace.
The Renaissance man.
The Renaissance man?
It's a French word, I think.
It's
I'm not sure.
Well, Todd will tell us later on, I'm sure. But anyway, for now, 3 Reapers already on the way. They got themselves 1 drone to start things off. That's a pretty nice pick off there for MarineLorD. Now pressuring on against these Queens. There's no Hellions actually to eventually couple up with this. He's going straight to the 3rd command center with that starport.
Think of those 3 Reapers as like beef tenderizers. They're showing up, they're massaging the Queens with their nice little pistols. They're not going to kill a Queen in that altercation unless the Zerg gets really weird. But they heal a lot faster. They're going to come back. And if it is just the 2 Queens, they did not heal nearly as fast. They actually cannot stand toe-to-toe with those Reapers. So killing that drone, like you talked about, means that the 3rd base is heavily delayed here. He can poke in. He can perhaps even actually go after this Queen that's by itself. And you can see this is actually what it's doing is it's really taxing the actions of FireCake. FireCake right now is under kind of StarCraft stress. He's like, well, I don't want to be spending my actions surviving with my Queens. I want to be pushing my creep out, managing my economy, but he's not allowed to do that because of the strategy that MarineLorD went for here.
Well versed at it, though. That has a lot of tools under his belt. I mean, he was well known for that Swarm Host play, but ever since then, he's shown that he can do a whole lot more. Even just the Evolution Chamber block in the mineral line that we saw there to make sure that the Reapers wouldn't continue on further. Something that's good, but that's a great pick-off of those 2 creep tumors there. MarineLorD really delaying FireCake's eventual attempt at controlling the whole map.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it, the creep tumor went down, the other one was canceled. Here he goes, he's going to push forward with, what, like 5 or 6 creep tumors. It's a huge investment. It means he's not going to have any transfuses in case a real push comes out, but FireCake, being the player that he is going to go ahead and give himself that leeway by having roaches here. This is not very typical. A lot of times it's lings and queens, so transfusions can be really important to keep those queens alive. In this case, it's going to be roaches. Great scout coming up from FireCake. He's going to come in here and he actually sees a tech lab on that starport. It's a little bit unique. That means there's a potential for cloaked banshees. And by scouting that, it really increases his chances to just take 0 damage.
And for FireCake, kind of noting that, it does potentially lead on to later on MarineLorD going mech, which he oh so loves. This was the game. This was game number 2 on this map where we saw that amazing comeback from MarineLorD against FireCake. FireCake had in a bank of like 10k, 5k against very, very minimal. He's still killing off drones somehow with these Reapers. They've done their job from previous, and they've even got themselves 4 more kills.
4 drone kills for 3 Reapers is okay, and like you said, for the most part, their role is done. Their role was kind of done when the Roaches showed up. If it was Ling Queen, they would still have a pretty strong role. But as it is, you know, kind of recycling them for 4 drones is not a bad exchange. A little bit of a Hellion counterattack getting picked up by these 5 Roaches. And FireCake's going to push out with that, which is really nice. He really wants to get this 3rd base going, which he's starting to do, but man, that Banshee is doing everything it can to be just like the little brother of StarCraft. Just super annoying, but you know, you love it anyways.
You got to chipping away at some of those drones, slowing down FireCake, because FireCake probably knows that it is going to be mech here for MarineLorD, and then the question is FireCake actually normally delays it into a later stages of the game, but by doing that, here come the Hellions, trying to get some more kills. 6 drones have already gone down, 7 as well. He's not cleaning these up fast enough. He's going to torch the whole mineral line in the natural, and basically for free.
Yeah, FireCake is being a little bit preoccupied, I suppose, with this now being pushed back Roach attack. He lost a lot of drones right there. You can see he is down to 45 harvesters, which on 3 bases is nowhere near where he wants to be. The good kind of saving grace for him is that, as we can see, and as you pointed out, Kalaris, it is going to be mech from MarineLorD, which does mean there's probably not any huge attack coming anytime soon, so he's afforded the time to build those drones. Now, I'm not trying to make, like, I'm not that good of a politician. I'm not going to be like, this is actually a win for everyone. It's not like that at all, but in the situation where like he has 2 medevacs of Marines coming at him right now, that would be terrible. As it is, he can salvage this.
And I mean, FireCake to that point knows so well that his opponent will be going mech. Hydralisk then goes down as well as the Infestation Pit. He knows he can cut a few corners. As long as he's trying to defend against the Banshees, he's not going to be threatened by much more at this point.
Right. I mean, the other thing to look at this too, though, is that the larva is being used to recoup losses for FireCake. So MarineLorD, the young guy out of France, the guy who there's a lot of hype, a lot of people are talking about being one of the best, is now playing a very short best of 3 to prove that point, is in a great position. All of a sudden, his Banshees are getting drone kills. He's pushed creep back as best he could. He's delayed. He knows that when he kills those drones, that there's not going to be a swath of Roaches coming after him. He just held off the Roaches. So MarineLorD is able to take a deep breath and say, okay, let's make this point salient. Let's go ahead, push for the win.
Trying to learn the lessons here from their first series yesterday on the B stream, and it looks like MarineLorD has really tightened up the early game stages, and is looking to run away with things at the moment.
He's hungry. You can see it. I mean, like, look at this. This Banshee is sitting at red health. He's, I believe, don't quote me on this because I'm horrifically inaccurate, generally speaking. As I say this, he loses one. But for the most part, he's been very good about exchanging his units for something else, and usually at a higher value. We do see Thor's coming out, Vikings already. Now that might seem a little bit peculiar. Why do we see Vikings? Well, one of the best answers for mech play is going to be your Viper. And kind of the weakness of Vipers and why a lot of Zergs, if not outright stay away from it, just don't like that tech choice, is that there's very little to no protection for them. The range of the Vikings means that those high priority targets and also expensive Vipers will die quite quickly in each fight.
Yeah, and FireCake, you know, as you said, with going up to those Vipers as quickly as he is, MarineLorD, I was about to say that FireCake was accounting for knowing that his opponent's doing that, but then MarineLorD is obviously accounting for FireCake's accounting. So lots of levels of that going on, as they both know each other very, very well because of them being from the French scene.
Absolutely, and that French scene so tight. You know, we were reminded actually on Twitter by a few of the people watching this that there were some nation war events going on as well, where France won twice in a row. They know each other, if not just because they're French, but also because the European scene is very tight. There's some of the absolute best talent coming out of that ladder and that area of the world since the beginning, really. And they know each other very well. We're going to have a quick push out here from MarineLorD. He senses blood in the water. He says, you know what? I've done a lot of economic harm. We're on equal basis. We've been on equal basis for a long time. I think I can strike, and here he comes.
Yeah, and he's even brought the SCVs with this as well, so there is quite the commitment here. The Banshees are still at the back doing some damage. They will get cleaned up by the Hydralisks. But at the same time now, the Vipers need some energy. Looks like that push in the mid has just gone back for now.
the caster curse of like, it's going back, and then it just starts waffling back and forth, and you're like, I'm not going to narrate this every time. I think he's jockeying for position. He wants to take a fourth behind this, make that probably a planetary, excuse me, and then start building off that. Actually, hold that thought. No, he's going to push forward here. It is going to be about 5 Thors, some Hellbats, and the Vikings up in the air to try and take care of these Vipers. But there are 4 Vipers, and they're probably going to be able to get off their Blinding Cloud, which is very powerful against those range units.
Do the Vipers lose a little bit of their value here, considering there's not really any siege tanks in this army?
A little bit, kind of, but what they do is when the Blinding Cloud gets cast, or Abduct, let's not forget about that, getting that Thor into the loving clutches of the entire Zerg army is a quick way to dispose of it. Blinding Cloud it rains chaos on the control of your army, because the cloud forces them usually to push forward, which is exactly where they don't want to be going, into the shorter range Rojans.
Well, for now, it's just going to have to be a little bit slower. One of the Vipers has already fallen here. They're going to just go for the Abducts completely, getting themselves about 4 Thors there. That's going to take a lot of power out of the sails here from MarineLorD as he transfers everything into Hellbat mode, using that as a buffer here for the 3 Thors at the back. The Vikings have done what they needed to do, but this Roach and Hydra force is going to push all this all the way back.
Here he comes. FireCake sends blood in the water as well. The villain is just not going to go down that easy. Abducting the Thors into his fight. He has snatched a lot of the firepower out from underneath MarineLorD's army. That being said, though, with this planetary fortress getting established, all of a sudden we're closer to 4-base economy. FireCake, knowing this, has to push now and get something done right here.
And he's going to try and push on towards against these Hellbats and the Thors. There are some siege tanks at the back, though, without any more Vipers left over, because the Vikings doing their job. It's a little bit more difficult, but you called it perfectly. You know, those Vipers having the multi-options of, you don't have to Blinding Cloud fight. The Abduct's going to be good as well. This planetary fortress is still holding on, and we've been in this situation before on this map between these two. MarineLorD, not dead yet.
He's not dead yet, and the really cool, subtle thing that occurred in this fight, Roach Hydra's very strong. There's the 4 Vipers. He does FireCake these Vipers in the fight. We saw what they could do in the middle of the map. Abducting those Thors away from kind of the middle of that high-powered mech army means that they're vulnerable, and now he's going to push forward right here. FireCake is going to try to score a decisive victory. He's actually going for the Vipers and the Banshee here. He wants to kind of cleave through those air units. If there's no more Vikings, then these Vipers can kind of reign supreme. The Thors can still target them down, but they'd rather be shooting at like Roaches and Hydras. So it's a really nice chess match going between these two masters.
He had like 5 or 6 Overseers even with him there, which actually soaked up some Viking shots before the Vipers were even to be hit. So that was another little nice move. Of course, he wants to keep an eye on the Banshees, no doubt, but having that many at the front, tanking up some shots whilst you're moving in is a nice touch.
It really is. It's an inexpensive way to absorb firepower that otherwise those things aren't contributing, right? Like, yes, they detect things, but they're not really needed. So if you can do that essentially, not really for free, but for an inexpensive cost, it's great. A little bit of a push here from FireCake. FireCake just wants to keep MarineLorD pivoting and moving back and forth. That's where mech's at its weakest. It's very immobile that way. One mistake and all of a sudden, you know, the core group of tanks can go away, and then that's basically game. FireCake really playing nicely here. He's maintained the Vipers for the most part. He's lost a few of them, but he just keeps showing up with high energy. He's expanding. The creep is all over the place. He's playing a beautiful game right now.
Viper's going to land some Blinding Clouds on these siege tanks as that ground army pushes in. And again, you know, this looks like a picture-perfect replica of the game that they had yesterday. Now, with that, even the base being taken up to the top right-hand corner, this being cleaned up, FireCake's trying to dominate the map. But MarineLorD is resilient on these 4 bases. He will play this very slow. And now, all importantly, the starports enter the fray, which is his next attempt to transition on.
Well, in a day kind of themed by proving yourself, I'll tell you, MarineLorD is facing the mirror right now because he was pretty much undeniably ahead just a few moments ago. He was on 3 base versus a 3 base Zerg. He had a very strong 6 or 7 Thor army. He had mid-map control. It was looking great. Then FireCake, like the end boss, the villain, was able to really turn things around with just great army control and those Vipers. And he's now knocking on the door of taking this win away from MarineLorD. Here's the big Abducts. A lot of the tanks still in the back, though, raining down just shell after shell on that Zerg army. A couple of Thors were abducted, and they're being traded. Now, the trade talk is something that we say a lot in StarCraft. It's a really big deal. If FireCake can stick up to like 5, 6 bases, those kind of trades are great. If MarineLorD can continue to do a pretty good job of using Banshees, Hellions as pictured here, to try and trim down the economy of the Zerg, those trades become expensive for the Zerg as well.
Yeah, and those Hellions actually, in the previous game here, they were able to get a lot of damage done towards that bottom left, which didn't have that much static defense at it. This game, though, FireCake's learning his lessons again, adapting just like the Swarm should against a position which was very familiar.
This Banshee top right, just about to finish off the hatchery, reminds me of my first play of Diablo 2. I did not understand the leveling system very well.
Okay.
I fought Diablo at the end of the game.
Ooh,
Hold that thought. A lot of drones dying here. Great score here for MarineLorD. He's going to pull in again. You know what, Hellions? I don't care. He doesn't need these. They shouldn't be a part of his final army. If he can trade them out for drones, fantastic. FireCake has been poked. I just want to start real quick. I fought Diablo, and it took me about 3.5 hours because I did not level up my character almost at all.
Okay.
And that's the kind of thing that a 12-year-old kid will do. Apparently a very dumb one, but still. I've aspired to a semi-intelligent StarCraft II analyzer, so here we are. A lot of tanks anchoring this planetary fortress. Now, we talked about this in the pregame. 4-base, you can afford to do a lot of things off of that as a Terran player, but as mech, it takes a while to get to that 4th base. So the main, the natural, they have started to dry up. He's going to need to look for, now, a 5th base to sustain his war effort. Where is he going to go with that, Claire's? It's getting hard to pick.
Yeah, and if you do take it so far up to the top right-hand corner after you've cleared that out, you've got to make sure that your units are spread properly to be able to defend against that if your opponent's going to counter. But once again, though, MarineLorD is going to be the one on the counter, and he does get himself 4 workers with the Blue Flame Hellions, but not too much. As you said, though, trading off Hellions, it's not that big a deal.
It's not that big of a deal, but as the game goes longer, killing drones with Hellions becomes more and more irrelevant. Like, FireCake, you can see, is maintaining roughly 71 harvesters. He shouldn't dip too much further down than that, but he obviously can afford to remake them. And with no fight in sight right now, if you kill 4 drones, he doesn't care. He's like, okay, well, that's going to cost me 4 strokes of the finger, you know? So we're really looking for the build-up of this next fight. What I kind of like about this is showing Rotterdam to be not only a dashingly handsome person, but also a fairly intelligent StarCraft guy. He said, you know what? They took the Swarm host away from FireCake, kind of. That's a little bit hyperbolic. They nerfed it. And yet you can still see his talents and skill. And we see his talents and skill in the late game ZVT.
Oh, yeah.
Static defenses, absorbing this harass play, carving up for himself the real prime endgame Zerg army. Ultralisk, Roach, Hydra, Viper, maybe Infestors, Queens, that kind of stuff. He is a master with those things.
The creep spreads through the mid-game that he gained the ability to do via his Swarm host play really transitions to this kind of style very, very well, especially against mech. But the big question for me is that, as I've said before, FireCake has been in this situation before against MarineLorD, and MarineLorD doesn't get nervous in this situation. MarineLorD will hunker down, he will be strong with this army and slowly push out. And FireCake, for me, has to find an answer, because if he lets this continue on for too long and the Ravens gather up, I think MarineLorD's going to be in a great spot.
Well, speaking of the Devil Glares, he's going to push forward. Does FireCake. He's going into a bit of a choke point, though. The Ultras are dying relatively quick. The Abducts were very nice, getting some high target units into those Spine Crawlers and the rest of the Zerg army. But here comes the slow push from MarineLorD, and I got to echo your sentiments. MarineLorD has to remain calm. Again, a lot of people backing up. France is looking at him. Europe is looking at him. They want him to topple the villain here and push forward into the round of 8. But in order to do that, he needs to play some of his best StarCraft. A big fungal goes down, hitting a lot of the Vikings there, and I believe 1 Raven. And he's chaining them. Does FireCake trying to, again, remove these air units from play, but a lot of fungals went down to kill actually just 2 Vikings and maybe a Raven. It's okay, again, both these players can afford that, but he's looking for a bigger shot.
Yeah. Repositioning his siege tanks there. If they'd have got over there a little bit quicker, maybe he could have denied that chain from going on, but that is not going to be the case. His bank is looking okay, he needs a bit more gas, maybe try and head over towards one of those 5th base, but the thing is if he tries to take the one in the middle, eventually clearing that out, he can use that as his launching point with his kind of mech army to slowly clean up this.
Am I seeing this correctly, that FireCake is just now upgrading level 2 Carapace upgrade?
It looks like it.
That is a bit of a problem. That's why his units are becoming like just like a pudding or something like that. Every time there's a fight, it's like Zerg pudding, and just, not a whole lot of contention there. But that's gonna be cause for FireCake to slow this down. I was kind of wondering why he wasn't pushing. I mean, every time you look at MarineLorD's position, though, look how invincible that is. What is that? 3? I guess, yeah, it's 3 planetaries and actually a command center that's annoyingly nothing, which means it doesn't get attacked and it's just blocking space. It's really bad. But here we go. FireCake's going to try to strike. He's going to use his Blinding Cloud to shut down these planetary fortresses. The slow-moving mech army of MarineLorD's not quite getting over there. Some Abducts, again, it's Vikings and Ravens. Really, we're trying to use these Hydras to clean up the air and going after this base. The base itself doesn't represent that much importance in terms of, well, no, excuse me, I'm going to actually correct myself. It's like the last mining base. So while it's kind of dried up, all of a sudden MarineLorD's like, hey, I really need to find another base.
Yeah, and it continues to hold on here, though. The Vipers with the abducts continue on here. There's a Seeker missile, but I don't think it's going to hit at all. They should be able to get away and fight another day.
Well, with every fight, I mean, look at MarineLorD's army. Yeah, the Raven count's getting really high, and that's actually a huge, huge issue for FireCake. If he can get to kind of that critical number of like 15 Ravens, between the point defense drones, the Seeker missiles, the auto turrets, all of a sudden Zerg engagements become almost impossible. Like, they're really, really hard. And you almost have to just drown out the Terran or hope to hit a clumped up fungal. If you can hit that notorious fungal, my God, the Terran is so dead and they're so sad.
Yep. And the thing is that FireCake, as much as he did lose the previous series, if you think back to Season 1, he was kind of in this position again.
Yeah.
Like, he was in this round of 16 and he wasn't able to advance on past. Here in WCS, there always needs to be advancement. You always need to be one-upping yourself, time and time again. Getting to the round of 8, especially against someone like MarineLorD, who you know as your countryman, who you know as someone who almost has your number in some of these late-game situations. You've got to get that off your back as FireCake. You've got to find a solution.
You know, I'm going to put on my former pro gamer know-it-all spectacles and say one of the things I'm missing here from FireCake that I'd love to see, because he's had some lockdown defenses, he's choking out the bases, he's mining on MarineLorD's half the map. Well, these are all really good things to do. He's obviously playing a great game, but Viper control awesome. I'd love to see like Nidus Worm inside the main. You can't get past the planetary fortresses, maybe even drop just something, because this Terran army is so slow. If you can get behind the defenses, behind the planetary fortress, behind this army, it is super exposed territory, my friend. You can start chopping up depots and really slowing them down.
This is the move. This is where MarineLorD starts to try and assert himself. Here comes the Vipers, actually grabbing a lot of those Ravens as well. A lot of Seeker missiles trying to hit some of this army as well. If those Hydras stick around, they can take a lot of damage, and they will do. And pushing this away, the planetary fortress is still holding on strong. He got a lot of those siege tanks, as you mentioned, but the Ravens still survive. 19 of them. Gonna push them forwards here, though, with the Hydras as well as some of these Queens. But the Seeker missiles, will they land? No, fizzle out.
I love the animation when they don't. Great exchange between the two players. I mean, again, it's just a strangling game that we see from FireCake right now. He is losing so much, but he immediately resupplies at 1 and 9. You can see MarineLorD much slower to resupply, and everything that he loses is so much more costly. He really needs this 5th base. He's down to the bare bones on his 4th base, and if he can't get that, I mean, losing this first game of a best of 3 in an advancement match it's gut-wrenching. It would be so much trouble for him mentally to go on to that next game and recover. It's very, very tough. The true mark of a champion is someone that can, but man, I'll tell you what, MarineLorD's like, you know what, let's test that later. Let's try to win this game right now.
Oof. Well, the Vipers continue on. There is a big difference from this series to the last one, which is the Vipers keep using these abducts over and over compared to blinding cloud engagements like FireCake was using in the previous game, I should say. But slowly, MarineLorD to the right-hand side is trying to claim that base up to the top right. Hence, all the perimeter defense up towards that location.
And honestly, Claris, you hit the nail on the head. I feel like it's up to FireCake to identify that. He keeps kind of butting heads over here in the middle of the map. Well, that base is essentially positioning, and in this kind of game of attrition, you can't really afford this. Like, here he goes. He's going to come in here and fight. I mean, if he can get a lot of Ravens, that would be great. But for the most part, the PDDs mean that they're going to get out of there okay. And look at this fight. He kills a couple of tanks. He sets fire to a planetary, and he loses a heck of a lot more. Yes, he resupplies immediately, but Claire's, he's running out of the ability to do that. Now, meanwhile, on the right side of the map, like you touched on, all of a sudden, MarineLorD's establishing another base. And this is the base, by the way, where one of these two players lives and dies, I feel like. And the sooner FireCake can identify that, the better he'll be.
Oh, definitely. It was absolutely pivotal before, and it will be pivotal again.
There's no planetaries there.
Yeah, he's gonna have to position most of his defenses, his mobile defenses at least, around here, waiting around for it. The Ravens don't do too bad.
Look at that, Claire's. That's it.
Yep.
Is that 2 tanks, 2 Thors?
Not much.
I mean, the Ravens above are super annoying, but because they're so spell heavy, essentially, if you can flood beneath them and just overwhelm their space, if they don't have support and insulation, they will die. They will go away. It takes a long time, but they will die. FireCake, if he allows him to start mining off that base and churning those resources into 7, 8 tanks, 5, 10 Thors, all of a sudden that base becomes ironclad like we've seen in the middle of the map.
And they will continue on. Auto turrets are actually a great tool against Ultralisks.
That's true.
They're very, very annoying for the wall off. Ultralisks have a hard time getting through it. But as you said, there's not much ground army to really complement a push if FireCake were to go for it. He just wants a bank. He just wants a big bank. Oh, sees the infestors.
There's an Ultras up there just going kind of renegade. He's like, guys, I'm tired of you sitting around. I'm going to go take care of these 2 tanks. He did it. That base is detached. FireCake thinks he needs to fight through here. And to your point, look at those auto turrets choking up space. They're really blocking up. And here we go. FireCake's again going to attack into the most defended spot. He's going in here. There's the abducts. But again, with the point defense drones, it means they're not really taking that much damage. A couple of fungals go in there, but without any chain fungals or support, I don't know. It's paint damage. My dad would be really upset if you did that to his car. I don't think MarineLorD cares. It's like the Thors can be repaired.
Every single time the Seeker missiles come out, and then you have to back on out here as FireCake. And now FireCake is looking for an alternate solution. Will these swarm hosts be the deal breaker? I mean, slowly I think they could chip away at the main base, maybe an infrastructure, but will it be enough to kind of turn the tides?
I might have missed the upgrade. He needs to get it, I'm sure.
Oh, you got to get it. Go.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's okay.
The flying locust is going to be a huge problem. And why they're so strong is because unless you have a ton of missile turrets, a ton of Thors, just a ton of stacked defenses in that position, they will get around the things that are killing them right now, and they'll get in there and they'll start doing damage. And they're really mobile too in this kind of current form. He can go over there, offload the locust, pick up and move, and he can keep doing that over and over again. And unless MarineLorD wants to invest 1,000 minerals and a bunch of missile turrets or leave his army over there, he won't really get to mine off that base, and that could be a very strong ability. But again, FireCake is just like fixated on the middle of this map. There's some kind of weird French rivalry occurring there that we don't understand that is going on right now.
Got to deal with potentially that push if it comes along, but those infestors do pose a little bit of a threat. Here come Locust now, slowly starting to chip away here in the main base.
Well, actually, they're killing that super fast. I was about to arrogantly laugh, but it actually almost died. I'm like, okay, never mind. That's really cool.
Locusts are really powerful nowadays.
They are. They do the job pretty well. And again, FireCake says he's amassing out there. He's got a lot of queens, a lot of vipers. Again, a good army. What was not pictured there, but he does have is something like 5 or 6 infestors as well. Yeah, and he has that overlord. Thank you, Observer. The overlord behind the base. It could have been a Night Swarm, but I'm not going to fixate too heavily on this. It looks like FireCake is just kind of saying, all right, you got that right side base. You're down to 1 mining base. The problem is you can see FireCake still mining kind of gingerly around the map. That's good. This will last him for another like 20, 30 minutes, to be honest, the way he's mining. He's just kind of, he doesn't have a fully saturated any one base. He has lightly saturated every base.
Yeah, definitely draw this out. There's no reason not to. But actually a big movement here forwards, and those auto turrets cover this army perfectly. Some fungals will catch a few of these ravens, and the Seeker missiles do actually fizzle out and actually roll down the ramp nicely.
I don't think, David Kim's here in the audience, but I wonder if he's like, that's not what I pictured the Seeker missile being, like the zoning method. It's like, hey, get off my lawn. If you stick around here, you're going to take a bomb in the face, but that's what they do. A good savvy Zerg will know to run when they are targeted by that Seeker missile.
And worked out okay. Locust's going to dive in again here, and those Banshees were waiting for the Swarm host to come along. They didn't really react at the right moment to actually kill them off. Infested Terrans will kill off a few of these buildings, and now it looks like FireCake has really decided, all right, you have Ravens, all of this energy is free. I'm going to go with Infested Terrans as well as Locusts and try and trade off in that way.
And you know what? I mean, look at this. MarineLorD has slowed the game down. He was way down and out, maybe not out, but he was super down a little while ago. He slowed the pace of the game. He has turtled to a 5th base. All of a sudden, he's got his sights on a 6th base, knowing that 5th base basically just kind of grants him entry to this base right here. And he's just taking his time. This is a game of wins and losses, gentlemen and ladies. It's not necessarily about entertaining all of us, and this is entertaining, not to say it's not, but the point is, he's like, you know what? If this game takes 5 hours, I'm cool with it, man. I just need the win.
And he's not going to get nervous here as MarineLorD. He's been in this situation before against the same opponent. FireCake, both of these French representatives looking pretty strong right now, but I still feel it's up to FireCake to find a solution.
Yeah. You know, I'm trying to, sometimes what I do when I cast too is I think something's a bad idea and then I kind of fixate on a bad idea. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, gosh, why is he butting his head there so many times? I gotta believe that he wants to knock down these planetary fortresses, and if he can, it opens up kind of a valley of access into the main and the natural. Of course, they don't represent any kind of resource value, but what they do represent is production, depots, and that would be a pretty close to killing blow for MarineLorD. MarineLorD doesn't have the most quickly rebuilding army, and it can be repaired, but if he can't rebuild it at all, then all of a sudden, this pretty rich FireCake, by the way, coming in on 10,000 minerals, can start trading out units freely.
I mean, those locusts were the answer to your Nidusworm thought before, right?
Yeah,
They are slowly doing what they need to in the main, slowly getting towards that production, basically for free at this point.
Yeah, look at it. I mean, they're inside the main right now, and they are just, well, they were just opening up a hole there. This main is just carved out all of a sudden. He's actually lost an orbital or two as well.
Another push into this Planetary Fortress over at the 4th base. It has been mined out now, so this isn't exactly MarineLorD's big point of contention for him to try and defend for a resource's sake. But as he said, it is that barrier, making sure that he can't access from the back door.
And he's just trying to do, it's down to one planetary. The whole army is here, so okay, he's actually going to commit to this a little bit. A lot of Infested Terrans do go down. He's going to run as the Seeker missiles do get their targets. And they, again, just kind of zoning out, fall to the earth harmlessly.
Transfuses were really good on those Ultralisks at the front. They tanked up a lot of damage, and FireCake will keep those alive with the number of queens he has. He has 14 at the moment.
And here we go. The next volley of flying locusts jumping in here on that missile turret. And they are so powerful players, as you said. They knocked it down pretty quick.
Ridiculous how fast they kill them. It's basically you've given locusts stim, but a little bit of a longer cooldown there from the swarm hosts. A few infested Terrans trying to batter this down. And actually, friendly fire from that siege tank is going to kill some missile turrets.
Missile turrets will die. All of a sudden, the zoning out here not nearly as impressive. You can see MarineLorD has queued up rebuilding that space. But again, the battle of attrition. Both players have a lot of resources. That being said, MarineLorD has little to no gas. So he's got a decent number of minerals, but his army, look at it. It's all gas. He's got Hellbats mixed in there. But Ravens, Thors, very gas expensive. So FireCake's done a pretty good job chipping away at his resources, keeping him on the verge, kind of the cusp of death. And I do, again, I love this Locust play on the left side of the map, but my concern for FireCake is as we go on, he's not really stopping any bases. He's making them expensive, but that's it.
Continues on with the transfuses there with the Ultralisks. Just has to back off. The Seeker missile dance will continue.
And again, the main base, a little bit carved out. This is the, as you pointed out, kind of the alternate to the Nidusworm play. It's like, well, I can just fly in there.
Yeah.
FireCake starting to dry up a little bit, though. And while he does have 13,000 minerals in the bank, those will go up pretty darn quick. Like, there was a time where you would look at that and be like, that's infinite resources. It's really not. Not when you're facing Raven Thor. That is about as indestructible of an army as it gets. It takes several volleys or a really good exchange to do anything to that.
The repositioning of the swarm host here for FireCake over to the right-hand side, maybe to looking to do some damage over towards the most important mineral line. Could work out.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And if he can get rid of these SCVs, if he can make him have to drop constant mules, all of a sudden he's affecting the scans, so the army movement of MarineLorD gets a little bit slowed down. That's where the big stuff starts to come in. And again, we can kind of feel the collective, like, from both these players. Like, they're really, like, let's think this out. And we talked about this. They had this over at the B stage.
Yeah.
They played out this kind of a game. It is a thinker game. It is very complex. One bad fight from either one of these players with their super mega expensive armies, and that could be it. And ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about round of 8. We're talking about BlizzCon. We're talking about hero versus villain. We're talking about hype. Everything about this match, it's so deep and so important that it may seem cumbersome and slow, but man, there's so much on the line.
Definitely. You're going to play it patiently if all of that is on the line. It's very, very difficult to just swing the bat and hope for the best. That's not what's going to happen from these two players. Adrenal glands now on the way for FireCake. Might mix in some Zerglings for counter-attack potential if he can find the opportunity. Blinding Clouds for this army to move on in. Slightly negating the positioning of the Ravens there and got a little bit done with no Hunter Seekers to speak of in that fight. Meant that he could stick around for just a few seconds longer.
The Swarmos have come alive on the right side of the map, and honestly, I think it's been a long time coming. They were over there. We saw it pictured from our wonderful observer a few times, and they just weren't doing anything. You often hear it in kind of a negative connotation, like, oh, free units, that sucks. But honestly, that is a resource that, as you can see here, the Zerg desperately needs to be utilizing. Like, it's just a question of how many times can he pay attention to it and use the actions of his body and mind to get them to work. And the more he can do that, the better off he will be. So I really like the new Swarmos, and I love that it's more of a you know, you have to incorporate your actions with it as opposed to it'll just kind of automatically do it for you. You can go to sleep somewhere else.
And with no player willing to actually move at this point, we could easily see this going for another hour if nobody really wants to do anything. Transfuse is going to go down on these Ultralists again. He's cleaning up auto turrets, but that's all he got in that small engagement. And we could easily actually see this whole map mined down, Jeff.
It is absolutely a possibility. Both players are doing everything they can. And you know what? Actually, as you say that, Kalaris, you might be, again, kind of foreseeing the future here. Because look, FireCake's really not pushing in any base super heavily. We can see him going in there, but each time he does, he's buffering with ultras that are getting healed, he's buffering with overseers, and he's using Blinding Cloud to take as little to no damage as possible. He's getting the Seeker missiles off the point defense drones from the Ravens and then backing off. So he's playing for that long game, I believe. He says, you know what, okay, I got my 6 bases, you're gonna have your 6, and I need you to spend all of your money. What are we, what am I missing?
There is an SCV trying to kill things, and he's doing okay so far.
Is that?
Sorry, Canada.
That is what you guys are cheering about? That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's, here's some more abducts. It looks like a Banshee will almost die. Please, okay, there, it does actually die. Let's do the 50-minute stretch tradition here in a StarCraft Zerg versus Terran. I'm going to say something that'll wake up the audience. Canada! There we go.
That was well done, Jeff.
Thank you. And for those of you at home, something that will wake you up. I don't know. What would you say to wake up the people at home?
Fire, fire.
Oh, God.
There you go.
Cake! Maybe. Fire, too, though. Yeah, that is reason. That is cause for concern. And look at the, again, the back and forth. Here's the flying. In conjunction with the Infested Terrans. This should drop the Planetary Fortress almost absolutely.
And the second one as well.
Yeah, he's in danger of losing that. He's got to try to repair it, but he has so few Harvesters here, he actually could lose it.
Ooh, Infested Terrans. You don't hit hard enough.
They're like, oh, no. Nope, they're not doing it. But a couple more volleys like that, and that will be a dead Planetary Fortress.
Yeah, this can continue on. He tried to go over to the left-hand side. Obviously, those auto turrets are kind of free as well.
Look at FireCake. So he's actually at 183 supply.
He's pushing forward. He's pushing more aggressively here. Is MarineLorD. A few of those onto those Ravens. But look at this. As he continues on, keeps dropping the scans, keeps clearing up the creep. A Seeker missile does hit, then MarineLorD can slowly start pushing onto the opponent's side of the map.
Yeah, he's using a lot of energy to do that. I like this, though. I'm like a little bit confused as to what started this. I think he's tired of taking damage on the right side from the flying Locust.
The thing is, though, he's got to do it slowly, right? Because he still needs a good amount of energy once that army moves forwards to have Seeker missiles available.
Yeah, and he's got to be careful. A couple of Ravens did separate themselves from the pack, and just like any, you know, pack of animals, the weakened ones separated from the majority will die. Lions in this case are going to be the Vipers and Zerg army. This Planetary is going to die, yes.
All right, MarineLorD has had enough here, Jeff. Look how aggressively he's moving this army forward, and he's constantly creating a perimeter, a bubble around this army with the auto turrets, because he knows the majority of the damage coming out from his opponent's army is the Ultralisks. If you can slow those down from actually getting towards you, there's not much that can happen.
This is more perilous than I think what meets the eye. MarineLorD has no gas. He's got 143. He's mining off the top right-hand side base for gas, I believe, but it's essentially a one-base gas economy. That's nothing for this stage of a mech army. We're going to have a potentially big push here from... No, okay, it's just going to be abducts. He's going to grab a Thor for himself. And even the point defense drones, they do have their limits. The Ultras, oh god, needs to be repaired. Okay, it's fine, but heal that guy. Done a hard job. So a couple of meaningless bases were killed. Creep was pushed back. That's nice. But start to look at the bank a little bit here. MarineLorD's having I mean, the production tab is nil. Both players are essentially max. There's a Raven being made, and that soaks up all the gas. But MarineLorD cannot make any mistakes. If he makes any mistakes at all, like a huge fungal hits all those Ravens, it's lights out.
And even if he tried to flank, there's always an auto turret wall everywhere he goes. The resistance for MarineLorD is or la resistance, as all our French people would love, are going up against the Renegade here as he slowly starts to push against him. And FireCake is really having a hard time. He cannot find a good angle after 55 minutes of this game, Jeff.
Polaris, one of the really cool things is starting to take shape here too. I like everything you said, but this Zerg army is mostly queens, and as this creep actually gets pushed back like this, his army becomes dangerously inept. Like if they can't get around in the different spaces, they're in a lot of trouble. Maybe sensing this, FireCake's gonna push forward here. He wants to score a decisive victory, but he can't. As you said, there's too many auto turrets, and every time he goes out and fight, I mean, imagine if like your backyard turned into just a bunch of machine guns. It would be a crappy backyard to frolic through.
Yeah, you won't want to play football.
You would not.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, going to transfuse some of these Ultralisks again. They are the shield.
They can't run. Maybe the Seeker missiles have an effect.
Ooh,
not
close.
this time.
Close, close, close. There wasn't much way to run. You're right about that. Locust once again trying to harass this base, shut down the gas mining from coming on in. But this army has not really lost any steam, any momentum at all. He just needs to wait to gather up a little bit more energy here on the Ravens. Once again, he can drop the auto turrets. He's still at like 37 Ravens or so.
Is it 37?
I think so. Something like that.
Oh my god.
And
Well,
it's
it's
just
a
too
lot.
much. It's just too much here for FireCake to deal with.
The Invincible Ultras being healed by a cadre of queens behind us trying to heal them up. We're going to get a big push here. Here come the Infested Terrans. There are no fungals just yet.
Oh,
They're
those
seeming to
Hunters.
stick around. The Seeker missiles hitting for gigantic AoE damage. But here comes the push. The Infested Terrans chopping away at the Thors. This army cannot be replaced for MarineLorD. He needs to keep them alive. And the drones. The drones protected them. Look at their health. There's one guy that's keeping around. The rest of them are super healthy.
It's one worker against 8 now, so its economy is no effect on this game anymore. It's this army against FireCakes. And right now, 186 army supply against 199 army supply from FireCake.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Yes, exactly. You just said that the army supply. I mean, look at their workers. FireCake's at 1. MarineLorD's at 8. And I don't know what those 8 guys are doing. I guess they're like the repair team. They're the mechanics on the on the field.
Found the Swarm Host. Going to alleviate the pressure there. But I think for now, you know, they've kind of done what they needed to. It's all about the direct engage here. Unless he wanted to go for some crazy hour-long extra base trade. But he's going to push in. He loses one of his Ultralisks at the front. That's actually one of the only... Wait a minute. You've got 8. Where are the other 8 Ultralisks? There they are at the back now coming on forwards. Needs that meat shield 100%.
In the background, we do have the Zerglings ravaging through the base, doing what they can to make this an expensive affair. There's really no mech army that can go back there and do anything about it. And even these Locusts starting to actually chop down at the single Thor there. But again, ladies and gentlemen, we are building up to a climax here. We're at 59 minutes, but soon this mech army is going to have to come clashing in with this army. And now, the Zerglings pose an interesting threat. PDD will not save you from that. What does the Terran player do against that? Well, he's going to have a bunch of auto turrets, but if those Zerglings can get inside on those Thors and tanks, they could do a lot of damage, man.
Yeah, you can't drop Seeker missiles on them. You'll just do
You should not.
Yeah, you should just do AoE damage to yourself.
Yeah, it would be bad.
He's got a few Hellbats mixed in, 9 at the moment. I think that's probably where after
And an
seeing
army
those
of
wings on the
changelings.
way- Where are the changelings?
It's a spy army.
Oh, there
Do not be fooled. Those are not Space Marines.
Get up!
And here they come. He knows. MarineLorD knew about it. Not one to deal with spies in a peaceful manner is any Frenchman. The Zerglings on the left side of the map, though, waiting, and here they go. They want this army out of position to react to it, and they're going to do just that. Now they're going to go in. That can actually kill a planetary, or like 5. I think that can kill 5.
That's a lot. They've got adrenal glands as well. Don't worry. Just remember that. So it's going to
They
be quite
cannot
a
kill
bit.
3 Hellbats, though. Okay. What are Ultras doing here?
This. I don't know how they got here actually.
Why are there Ultras here?
I don't know. That's interesting. But they did get here, and Seeker missiles going to try and land on them as well, which they will do. And actually, because they're so clumped up, they take a lot of AoE damage.
These poor Zerglings,
Oh
too,
my.
there's like just no space for them. They keep running to planetaries, but the planetaries are surrounded by other things, so they can't do anything. And now these Ultras, what? Boys, this is not where you belong.
Oh dear. This is getting a little bit testy here for FireCake now. He's tried every single angle throughout this game. He has tried to hold the line at the front. The Ultralisks have tried to buffer, and everything hasn't worked. 200 army supply for MarineLorD.
That's all. That's all he's got. He's got 18 gas. He won't be mining gas anytime soon. 1,000 minerals, that's nothing. On the flip side, though, FireCake, same department. He just made 6 infestors, excuse me, 4 Ultralisks. So, you know, I was making jokes about those Ultras, but to be honest, that was actually a tragic mistake. With all the queens that he has, those Ultras could live on almost forever. But without just being out there by themselves like that, it's just nothing. The Thor trying to get dragged into the Zerg army does.
Missiles.
That's a victory. A lot of missiles queued up here. A couple do connect. They should be transfused. Does the Zerg army to here. But again, look at, he just keeps pushing back this creep. That basically means this very queen-heavy army cannot go back over there until it spreads creep. It's just a zoned-off area.
Neural Parasite in production here for FireCake. He's tried almost everything to the point where he's forced to go Neural Parasite to try this out. Tries to grab in one of these. And actually, okay, sickest play ever. He grabs in some of the Ravens. He uses Hunter Seeker on his opponent's Ravens.
And then he doesn't know what to do because he's so flabbergasted by what's happening.
Exactly.
It blows up his whole army.
Exactly.
Michael Bay.
That would be crazy.
That would be pretty awesome. A couple of Fungals going down on the front lines. There's the Infestors, and there's not really much to deal with them. Actually, Infested Terrans here again because the only thing shooting here is Thors and auto turrets. So, you know, they died immediately, but the thought was there.
You can't get too close there with the Infestors. He's going to drop off some more Infested Terrans, but the Ravens here now, look how far he has got with these auto turrets.
Yeah.
Slowly, over the past 20 minutes or so, he's gotten all the way from the top right-hand corner of this map down towards the choke, which will control these 3 bases down to the bottom here for FireCake.
Yeah, here we go. This could be the push. The Ultras in the front, they need to get healed, though. Every Ultras that dies is like it's like a black rhino at this point in time. You won't see it again. You got to keep them alive. Also a good message for the world, I suppose. Here's the big fight. The Ultras going forward. They're getting into the front lines. There's not a whole lot of energy on these Ravens. Well, there is. There's just not that much, I guess, between all of them. But they do push off and zone out. Now the Zerglings starting to score some victories. They've spaced. They're lifting up these orbitals at least. But you know what's kind of weird about this? Like, neither player is mining. So what do these Zerglings represent, right? Like, look at MarineLorD. He has no money to actually even rebuild anything. So if you go kill depots, you go knock down a factory or two, does it actually matter? I mean, there's the one base to mine, so I guess that's where it matters.
I don't know if there's a solution here for FireCake. Every good book needs to have a villain, and in the end here, FireCake is the James Moriarty to the Sherlock Holmes of MarineLorD, and right now, MarineLorD is solving this puzzle. He is solving the puzzle.
You think so?
I don't know how he's going to beat this army. It's still 37 Ravens, Jeff.
It's a lot of Ravens. The scariest thing for me is that the core units below that, the Thors and tanks, the Fungals, there's the Fungal he needed. It's going to hold that army in place. They're so weak. They're so low in health. It's getting to the point in time where actually Fungals could do enough damage to really remove some of these units. Look how red they are. It's the Ravens, though, to your point, that he really wants to get. And there's some Zerglings over here. Actually, these Infestors are super high priority units. Well, it's going to get to a certain point where even auto turrets are going to kill them. Oh, okay, it looks like MarineLorD's going to back off. That would have been, if he loses all those Infestors, that could be it.
He wants to get onto these Ultralisks once again. There's only 2 Ultralisks left. Slowly, that number has been broken down. And if the Ultralisks all die off, what is there to buffer? What is there to even kill? It's all on the Infestors then, surely.
Yeah, but then in that scenario, I fully agree with you. It's all of a sudden a playground game for our Terran player. Here come the auto turret kind of
He's pinning them in. He's pinning them in.
He's going to try to pin them in. The other half of the Zerg army has to get over here. There's the Fungals, though. They hit all the Ravens. The Ravens are held in place. They're deep in red health. You said 37 Ravens. Nah, I tell you, it's going to be about half that in a second. He does lose almost all the Infestors. So it's a little bit of a trade back and forth, and there's still a lot of Ravens getting out of here. And I think, to be honest, the advantage is the Terran player in this case, because at this point in time, what does he do to reach out and touch those Ravens? I mean, it's going to be these 3 Infestors.
3 Infestors, 2 Ultralisks, and 20 Queens remain here. Only the 3 Vipers, but if they keep gathering energy and draining from buildings, then slowly kill himself off. The thing is that MarineLorD can't repair anything either, which is a big deal here. He would love to be able to repair all these Ravens, but he just doesn't have anything for it. So he's got to be very careful about his movements as well. Look how low all the Thors are, Jeff.
Yep. And it's going to haunt FireCake, because at this point in time, those Thors, they're low in health. But with how many units FireCake's been bleeding off, they might as well have full health. Like, if you can't hurt them because of point defense drones, if you can't get near them because you're constantly running from seeker missiles, then who cares? They could be wearing suits of glass armor, and it would be just as invincible as anything else, I guess.
I mean, surely now the 3 Infestors are the most important unit, because Queens, 20 Queens alone, probably not going to beat 22 Ravens unless they get some crazy weird engagement. It's all about the Fungal still.
I mean, God, just imagine right now a Fungal hitting center mass on that army right there.
Yeah.
Just, if you're a Zerg, this is a very romantic moment for you right now, but for everybody else, it's like a nightmare. It's just not going to happen, though. MarineLorD's done such a good job of playing calm and knowing the long game. He's, you know, like you were kind of talking about a few minutes ago, he said he wants this hype to be real. He wants to go to the round of 8. He needs to justify all this, and this game's had its ebb and flows. It's been really exciting. It's had kind of stalemate quiet times, and then throughout all that, MarineLorD has not been rattled. He has not gone off and done something rash. He's been very calm.
You're right, we've said it a few times throughout this game, because it's been an hour and 10 minutes long, but it's totally true. I asked him before, he did not feel nervous, he did not feel up against it in a very similar game against FireCake on the B stream, and now is kind of showing that, again, he has an army supply advantage, with FireCake having no way of being able to catch up. It's just the slow game out of MarineLorD. He doesn't have to make a move. It's FireCake that has to now make the moves himself, because that base is actually mining again.
And he's just like a hungry dog, just sitting outside looking through the window at like a family of giant mastiffs eating just eating ribs. He's like, that's the final base. Can I have, I mean, when a Zerg is triple abducting a Viking to get a kill, that's when you know you're in the most desperate of territories you've ever been in your life.
Yep. Got to somehow find a way, and that might be one of them, but it'll take a long time.
Look at that, he just flew by. He's like, is there anything I can have? Anything at all? MarineLorD's like, nope, I'm going to sit back here in my forest of machine guns and just mine from the final base. FireCake's had enough. He knows the desperation is here. He's going to push forward, but those seeker missiles, it's just too much every time.
He didn't move back far enough. Oh, okay, one will land.
I mean, he knows it. He cannot let this base go, but he also knows there's nothing he can do. And this is, it's getting to that finality right now. Like, once this base is mined out, FireCake has all his pieces. This is what he can play with. And he's already down 27 supply. With the couple of thousand more minerals coming off that base and the 2 gases, it's going to be like 10 more Ravens. Can he deal with 10 more Ravens, Kalaris?
Don't think so. Don't think so. Looking for another angle here with these Ultras and Hydras, but this is it's not really accomplishing much.
He finally kills that base. He's like, you know what? You may win the game, but I did kill that base. Who's the real winner?
And there goes the auto turrets for the barrier again. So at least FireCake has some extra creep spray going on in the middle. I'm looking for positives here, Jeff.
Oh, you're trying. That's our job. We got paid to do this.
Yeah, true.
It's, to be honest, it's I believe like FireCake will close his eyes and he'll think back to when 4 Ultralists bled through. He'll think back to making 100 Zerglings running around accomplishing essentially nothing. Like I talked about it being a good idea. I thought it was. He thought it was. Turned out to be a bad idea. The Swarm Host, great idea. Now imagine if there was like, I don't know, 15 Swarm Hosts doing that, really just shutting down bases right and left. Maybe that would have been an answer.
Goes in again, abduct some Hellbats.
He lost the Ultras.
That's not worth it.
Did he abduct a Hellbat into the dead Ultras?
Almost. It was very close. It was very close.
See, look at this. He's going to abduct that. Okay.
Nope. Just leaves it.
But he's, I mean, losing that Ultras was like literally half his killing power. It's a really tough situation here.
It's a lot. These 3 Infestors still lurking on the right-hand side, but getting a good fungal off against this army will just be so difficult with MarineLorD just nursing it, basically.
Here they are.
And the army supplies now have really kind of branched off from one another. MarineLorD is taking that heavy swing forwards.
And here we go. More Hellbats, Ravens in the production. You can kind of see that. Meanwhile, the forever alone FireCake is just creep tumors. He's just like, man, you know, he needs the creep tumors for these queens. He's got to do what he can. What I like about this game, though, is like at this point in time, MarineLorD should know he has this. He keeps scanning that army. He sees it not getting any bigger at all. He sees it being exactly the same, and he says, okay, you know, I'm mining off this final base. I'm not even going to make any SCVs because that would be wasteful. I'm going to milk it for everything it is. We're going to have another exchange here. There's a couple of abducts. Thor might die, maybe? Nope.
Even with those abducts, he didn't kill the Thor he abducted, which really shows that kill power potential that he actually lacks at the moment with this composition. And MarineLorD has had enough here. The Hellbats are going to lead the charge. Just chase this all the way down.
There's the fungal. Can you chain it? Can you chain it? That was it. That was his time.
It wasn't working.
And you know what? MarineLorD didn't allow it for him. He pushed forward with the Hellbats and Thor, says, yeah, come on and try that fungal. And we are getting chased into the corner. The Zerglings are going to try to do what they can. Maybe the counterattack, but again, to what end? There's planetary fortresses, there's Hellbats coming out. It's just not great. FireLorD is being pushed off the middle of the map. MarineLorD is reaching up and looking to grab game number 1. This was supposed to be the revenge story of FireCake. He was sent down to the loser side of the bracket by this man, and now he stands in his way again. And in his first game, it's been epic as all get out, but man.
Yeah. And in my notes here, it says, does FireCake go aggressive from before even this series began? Because if he gets into a situation like this, again, against MarineLorD, I don't see it working out. He has to find another angle here against MarineLorD, who these two complete the trifecta of French players that we have here in WCS, and they know each other so well. MarineLorD knows that he is so comfortable in these later game stages that FireCake is really up against it at the moment in this game. Is likely not to be the victorious, but then moving on forwards, what is he supposed to do?
Well, you know, that's an interesting thought. I think this map is really good for what MarineLorD did, and unfortunately, well, not necessarily unfortunately, it depends on who you're cheering for, but to your point with FireCake, I think he thought he could be the better long game player. And there was definitely times where I felt like he was pretty far ahead and could have done it. But because he was never able to really gouge at the armor of MarineLorD, it got to this point where there's enough Ravens for it to be invincible. And on a larger, different map, maybe he can do more counterattacks. It looks like we might have our final fight right here, though. He's actually even, his investors aren't really participating. Gigantic Seeker Missile hits in there, but there's so much transfuse that it shouldn't matter for much. There's a big fungal. He's got 2 to follow it up. 1 more lands. It's hitting Thors, though, but there's just no killing power. And with the point defense drones down here, this could be our final fight. The Hellbats and the Thors are pushing forward. It's all just queens at this point in time. Firebat, you fought well, but unfortunately you got outlasted, and MarineLorD pushing forward now is cleaning up that creep, and that's it. I mean, there's 6 or 7 queens separated off from 3 infestors that are going to go into James Bond mode in the right-hand side, I guess. Yeah, have fun with that, boys. And then, meanwhile, all the bases are going to die because 6 queens cannot defend it.
It was like a campaign mission, Jeff. Survive for the first hour, then push across and destroy the Zerg. And FireCake here eventually will be torn asunder. MarineLorD has fought well. The resilience stays true once again. GG, game number 1 goes to MarineLorD here against FireCake. A man he knows a whole lot about, and a man who he can outlast here.
What a cool game, honestly. Like, MarineLorD opened up knowing that he was going to go towards the mech game, but it was fairly aggressive. FireCake also kind of aggressively got up to that 4 bases. We had the waffling Thor Hellbat army in the middle of the map, the very quick Vipers. Both these players gnashed and tore at each other for a little bit. And then they sat back and went, wait a second, we're both kind of in this situation where one big fight and we're out of here. And then they sized each other up, they weighed each other for a long time there. FireCake really hammering at that middle base. I don't necessarily want to call it a mistake, but it felt like an overemphasis. I thought he lost a lot of resources there to gain, in the end, nothing, but even potentially a pathway into a base that still had more planetary, still had more production coming out, so I don't quite know.
And game number 2 is going to be on Varney Research Station, a map where MarineLorD is all too happy to play Mac again, Jeff.
Yeah.
So you could potentially see a very long game again, but let's go back to my notes and say, does FireCake change things up? Because I feel he is outgunned and outmaneuvered and outplayed in these longer games.
You know, it's, in my opinion, I would play devil's advocate a little bit and say it's not so open and shut, just because I do think FireCake can trace moments back in that game where he says, actually, if I would have done this a little bit differently, I probably could have won there.
Okay.
It wasn't just such an overwhelming, like a giant pillar of cement falling on him and he's just, there's no chance in hell, he's just dead. But to your point, that being said, he's got 1 game to go. If he makes the wrong calculation, loses a game, he's out. That's it. Round of 16. Good job. Back to France with you. So does he really want to test MarineLorD, who in this first game showed no real faults? Like, he did not make a huge mistake even once. There was obviously the exchange of an RTS, but I felt like MarineLorD played a super solid game, which is really cool to see from the youngster coming up in the scene right now.
MarineLorD wants to join Little Bo in that round of 8. They are both good friends. They practice with each other a lot. And he has the chops. He has the chops to be able to move on to the round of 8 and make a big splash. I mean, for him, so far, this is the furthest, this is his biggest stage of all time. This is the potential best result of all time that he has ever had. Moving on that step further, but if FireCake doesn't manage to do this, if he doesn't manage to pull it out, then he goes to the round of 16 again. He gets eliminated in the round of 16 again. Where is the progression for FireCake?
Well, you know, the nice thing is he's got other things to look forward to, but the ultimate prize, the WCS BlizzCon World Finals, that would be something that would get closed in on a little bit. He would have to go off and win a DreamHack, a couple of IEMs, and then in Season 3 be kind of transformed. It would be like in round of 16, round of 8, he would have to be a force that makes it into the round of 4, round of 2. It's just, the thing is, like, I'm not a huge fan of like the finality and talking about how if these guys lose, they're not going to BlizzCon, because that's not true. There's a lot of events, a lot of points to be had. It's more the opportunity lost. It's like you're in the round of 16, you're 1 best of 3 away from round of 8, which is huge WCS points. And like we saw at the beginning of the day, it's 1,960 points to be in the top 16 right now. This tournament, first place, is 2,000 points. You could have 0 points. I could strip off my caster clothes, don my cape, go win WCS Season 2, which is totally possible. And then I would be in the top 16.
You're right,
Very amazing. It's actually super not possible. But the point is, that's how many points is at hand here. And we're going to head in to map number 2 here now on Bonnie Research Station. So as you said, Claris, a pretty good mech map. And then in your notes, and in my head, and in everyone's hearts, maybe not their hearts, but somewhere in their body, FireCake, do you change it up? Do you go aggressive? Claris, this is a question you asked to begin as well. I mean, it didn't work. He already lost 1-2 to MarineLorD earlier in this tournament. You can't just do the same thing. You'll just lose.
Got to do something different here. Maybe a 2-base Muta play very quickly to try and catch MarineLorD. Who knows? But regardless, we're getting in now to game number 2 after an hour and a bit long game 1. So, spawning up to the north, it is our Red Terran. 1 game up, representing Team Millennium, it is MarineLorD. And on the verge of elimination, down to the south here of Binary Station, we have our blue Zerg. Representing Punchline, it's FireCake!
FireCake earlier, just, well, now it feels like a long time ago, but not that long ago, I suppose. Toppling over Hearthstone, also a very strong opponent, one of the players that Europe is most proud of and thinks has some of the highest potential. But then he comes in here, and MarineLorD, his countryman, his rival. I mean, they made it pretty obvious. They do not like each other super much. And
that's an 11 ranks there, Jeff.
A little bit quicker?
Yeah, just a tad. 11 gas as well. So MarineLorD really wants those Reapers over there very, very fast. It's just kind of, I mean, did he get a drone in the past game against FireCake there?
I don't even know if he drone scouted, to be honest. I don't think he did.
Oh, no, I mean the Reapers. Did they kill?
Oh, yeah, they killed 1 drone.
Yeah, so if he's doing this a little bit quicker here, and then looking for that, maybe he could do something. But FireCake is a Zerg that always goes spawning pool before hatchery against Terrans. He doesn't really care.
Does he always?
Yes.
I did not know that.
He would much rather just be safe than get that economical advantage from actually having that hatch first.
That's interesting. I did not know that. Well, yeah, we saw 3 Reapers in game 1, which is a little bit unique, and they did some pretty good work. At the end, it was Roaches that came out to secure that 3rd base, so they kind of got recycled out. They killed like 5 drones in total, and they softened up the Queens like we talked about, but there was really no follow-up to that because of the Roaches, so it was kind of, missed opportunity is obviously the wrong way to describe it, but it was more of a like, had FireCake not gone Roaches, we would have seen a pouncing of the Terran tactics. Like, he would have came in on those Queens, he would have attacked the 3rd. The Banshees coming out, they were there as well to try and really, really make the 3rd all about that game. But FireCake just playing a really stout defensive game. You know, that's interesting too, Claire, because we keep talking about like, well, does he go aggressive? Does he want to change things up? MarineLorD makes it kind of hard to do that because he's so aggressive. Like, you have to kind of play defensive.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult. Those Banshees in the first game did tons, absolutely tons. So they worked their way through those drones very quickly. Another Reaper's going to join this very soon. First Reaper enters the fray. And MarineLorD obviously 100% anticipates the fact that there would indeed be a Queen here because he always opened that spawning pool first. Yeah. So it's interesting to see that MarineLorD, despite knowing the fact that his opponent would 99% of the time go for that spawning pool first, still went for the 11 barracks and 11 gas.
And there is that 3rd Reaper queued up, as well as the factory behind this. MarineLorD, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe he just, again, returns back to mech.
Yeah.
This was also something said about him. I can't remember who said it at the analysis desk. There's so many smart, handsome people over there that it's sometimes hard to keep track. But it was something to the effect of MarineLorD is quite famous for going mech almost in all of his TvZs. Backing off these Reapers just on the verge of death, which is really nice. Again, they have the combat drugs to go ahead and heal themselves back up to fighting form. And with 3, he can challenge those Queens. So it's going to be, again, kind of the same game as last game, where he's going to try to delay the creep tumors, delay the 3rd, and make FireCake show off what he wants to do. Is it going to be Roaches? Cool, the game slowed down. Is it going to be mass speedlings? Great, then I'll stay inside my main with a 3rd CC.
Backing up with these Reapers, going to get himself a Queen maybe here, but doesn't want to go too far against the one that is quite healthy. And also, I think he was focusing down the one Queen that had more energy, right? Yeah. So at least he's also denying the potential for a transfuse to come out from the heightened energy Queen, because you can't transfuse yourself, mate.
That's right. Which, I wonder how that's covered in the lore. I wonder how that works. But now the Queens are all healthy. Yeah, why can't you heal yourself, you know?
I don't know. I don't know.
One of the great StarCraft questions of the universe. 3 Queens going to drop down a couple of tumors, though, and these 3 Queens are fully healed up and more than enough to push off those Reapers, even if there are 3 of them now. Back at home, for our Terran player MarineLorD, we can see that he has been scouted. The Starport has once again spotted the reactor on that factory, also telltale sign. Did he see the 3rd command center? I did not notice that, actually. Check.
He sees it on the edge with this Overlord, yeah. So
Beautiful work, Observer. Beautiful work.
Hellions will now rendezvous with these units at the front, trying to protect these creep tumors. Gets the first creep tumor there, actually, so that's already quite nice. But on the map like this, it's notoriously difficult to actually get up there with Reapers and Hellions, so it's all about just poking and prodding at the front instead of trying to dive in and get the big damage.
We do have 6 Roaches queued up here, but then drones behind it, and there's no speedling production. Also, this would be a terrible map to try to do a Roach bust because it's such a small choke up into that main and natural.
Oh, he's getting stim. MarineLorD's getting stim.
Okay, it'll be bio here. But I do think MarineLorD's done a fantastic job of keeping FireCake inside of his main and natural. And with these defensive Roaches, not a big deal. Like, those are, again, Roaches made to exist for FireCake, basically. They are attacks of sorts. They're not really going to get their body weight worth in return, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Marauder's mixed in. He knows that Roaches could potentially be a threat, and I think MarineLorD kind of twigs onto the similar idea that we were mentioning before of, like, what if FireCake did get aggressive, and what if it was Roaches? Having Marauders out to deal with something like that could have been a very, very easy answer and alleviate him a lot of pressure.
Well, it would be a silly way to lose, right? He's like, I see Roaches. Why don't I just pretend that they're exactly the same kind of Roaches as game number 1? Nah, it's probably better that you, again, follow up with Banshees. Have Marauders because you are going to go bio, and so far you've seen no Lings, so there's not really a reason to have 16 Marines necessarily. He's going to poke in here again with the Reaper and get a nice little scout. Banshee sees that it is Queen and Roaches, and the Reapers, are inside the 3rd. Actually, they might get this Queen, and I think they do. Yeah. Not bad.
Wow.
Not bad considering they're just here to scout, maybe a drone. And yeah,
one in the extractor. Oh. Okay, so he gets 1 at least, 2. Second one goes down. 3rd maybe. Very, very
hell of a trade. Why not? He didn't get too much done with the scouting, but he didn't see like a Spire or hidden double Evo chamber or anything like that, and he got a Queen and several drones. I mean, that's amazing. Now look at it, frees up the space to get these tumors as well.
Yeah, I've got to ask, Flo, could you show us like how much FireCake knows in the main base of MarineLorD? Because right now, I'm wondering if he knows about the strategy choices. Seeing a 2nd barracks in production, kind of has to know it's going to be the... and he does start the melee upgrades. I was worried there for a second because he had more Roaches in production as well as the Gear Reconstitution. But now, throwing down the Baneling Nest, FireCake knows what he's going up against.
Good team communication there. Nicely done, Claires. You are an experienced broadcaster. I like that about you. 3rd is just now established. It is going to be melee upgrades, like you said, which is the typical Ling, Baneling, Muta kind of form. We see the Baneling Nest and the Spire here as well. Being on equal base with the Terran is more normal than you know, anything else. It's not like Protoss where if you're on the same base as you're just kind of dying. That being said, they really want to have the creep connecting to a 4th base because as Ling Baneling kind of comes out and you have Baneling speed, you really then do want to have a 4th base.
Yeah.
You need at least 8 gases to make Ling Baneling Muta work. If you don't have that and the Terran's applying enough pressure where, like, let's say you can never get that 4th base up, some big X factor must occur, otherwise you are dying the game of attrition just inbuilt into this ZVT.
Seeing now the load up here for MarineLorD, sending a few of his units down towards the right-hand side, mixing in Widow Mines as well, so a complete change up of how MarineLorD would normally play out a game against FireCake here. And FireCake is no stranger to being able to deal with the Bioforce in a very efficient manner. We've seen him being able to not only flood in the mid-game, but then roll through the army to then actually just chase all the way back to production facilities. So as much as MarineLorD is 1 game up in this series, got to be very, very careful about FireCake's potential power in the mid-game.
I really like the idea of having a few Spore Crawlers here and some Lings waiting for the drop. The Lings, that's a standard. Of course, they're there for drops. This is a very common time for that to be occurring. But the Spore Crawlers do such a nice job. Is it going to pick off a medevac? Probably not. But it does say, hey, if you want to drop here, you will lose a medevac or 2. It's going to be a costly exchange. And Terran, they're very afraid of losing early game medevacs because they represent so much, not only in their ability to harass, but really their ability to withstand the counterattack.
Good for the Mutalists to clean up, but FireCake doesn't want to be supply blocked any longer. Obviously, he has currently incurred a supply block, whilst MarineLorD is catching up in army supply and is actually taking over as well. So, good little small move there for MarineLorD to put himself in a good position, but he doesn't have any Widow Mines with the army. He's got to be careful about how far he goes here.
He's got to be careful, but he might have been, yeah, okay, he's going to...
You don't about that with that.
FireCake's really patient, and actually there's a huge swell of units behind that, so it would have been bad for FireCake. Kind of a tip of the hat to him for sensing that this would not have been the best time to pounce. Jeff playing Zerg absolutely would have gone balls to the wall there and attacked, and then lost the game very quickly after. But we're going to have that push from MarineLorD coming out, about equal supply, and the time to pounce, oh my gosh, was almost then. Widow Mine's burning fairly quickly. Do they have the...
Drilling Claws?
Drilling Claws upgrade, yeah.
They may have done. Yeah. But the thing is that the interesting thing for me is that MarineLorD has chosen Bio as his winning strategy here to move into the round of 8. I'm surprised by it because I figured that he would actually go down the mech path that he has been taking in the past. But no, he's looked to mix things up a bit. At the moment, FireCake hasn't done too much damage to him, but likewise, MarineLorD hasn't done too much damage to FireCake. So they're going in level pegging here, and let's see how long MarineLorD can last with a completely different strategy here to try and propel himself on in the WCS.
Yep, and FireCake's going to go in there, trying to get some damage done. MarineLorD's being a little bit kind of turtly. He poked up mid-map, slowed down that creep, but you can see he's fanned out here, and he's got a Widow Mine field in his attempt to absorb an attack that's not coming. Both these players are kind of defensive first. Like, they will attack, obviously. They're top-tier level StarCraft II players, but if they were given their full kind of spectrum of comforts, I guess they would like to be at home absorbing an attack and then winning with the counterattack, or just never really attacking and letting you kill yourself up against their defenses.
And now the Hive has started mopping in here. FireCake has found an angle to actually get that up and running, so he's had enough gas, enough time, lack of pressure from MarineLorD over on the other side. The Lings are getting a bit of a counterattack onto the reinforcements, but get a few units, not too much, and MarineLorD's army is actually quite powerful. Whoop! Nice little snipe out there from FireCake.
FireCake is one game away, remember that, from being absolutely eliminated, watching his countrymen move on to make history. Meanwhile, MarineLorD looking to get that first big result so that people can justifiably start talking about him as one of the absolute best. We have a bit of a return home from MarineLorD. MarineLorD is just about maxed out. You don't often see that at this time of his TvZ. A lot of times it's a bunch of trade outs, but here both these players are just muscling up for the one big fight. They're really afraid to commit to that one final action that will kind of seal their fate moving on.
And 3-3 is on the way for MarineLorD, but the 3-3 window, because the Hive is so quick here, is going to be shorter than normal.
A lot shorter.
Which is kind of scary, actually, here for MarineLorD. FireCake will be able to ward off this kind of aggression at the moment. There's a big Widow Mine field in the middle of all of this army, so MarineLorD can split either way. He's positioned himself in such a way that he does have some room to split them, but how well will it work out? FireCake's going to poke forwards, but not do too much.
Drilling Claw is about to complete, by the way, answering the question from earlier. These Widow Mines are going to get a lot more effective. And again, fighting just at the edge of creep here means that MarineLorD knows.
He never started 2-2. FireCake never started 2-2. Oh my god.
Just now realizing that too. He's at Hive and he's starting 2-2 to give you an idea. He actually forgot the carapace upgrade. He has the armor, or no, just now started, excuse me.
He is Hive finished. He was like, right, haha, time to get that through. Oh.
That's a big mistake. It could be the decider. We have a counterattack going up here at the top too. And they're going to be met by quite a bit of forces here. There's several Marauders and the Thor. It's a nice pickup, actually, if you can get that Thor as well. There are medevacs to perhaps evacuate Thor if need be. Nice counterattack with the Mules here as well, going after the 4th base. They're going to clean that up.
This is perfect. He needs to buy time. With his upgrades being in the way they are at the moment for FireCake, he needs to keep the fight on MarineLorD's side of the map, because by the time 3-3 finishes here for MarineLorD, he is going to absolutely pummel the army of FireCake. So buying any time where he can is important.
Buying time and also softening the economy. Look at the supply now swinging in favor of FireCake. Of course, MarineLorD can afford to resupply this, but that's not really the question. As you said, it buys time. So these upgrades are getting closer to completion. His creep is spreading further forward, but MarineLorD, knowing this, is pushing forward. He doesn't want to allow this 4th base to get up and going. It's not mining gas just yet. A lot of Zerglings were lost there.
Army supply, 152 to 125. Some of that army supply is tied up in the Ultralisks that haven't popped yet here for FireCake.
Here we go.
He needs to get a good engagement. Those Widow Mines are going to be important here on the Banelings. How much will they actually do against this? And also, actually, a lot of them died off before the Marines at the back tied, and these Mutalisks now need to do a lot. The Marines stand strong at the front, though.
Oh, nice pickup.
Oh, and even saves the Thor as well. As much as he did crush quite a bit of the army, did FireCake. 3-3 is about to finish, and he's got on top of this base as MarineLorD.
He's going to have a huge upgrade advantage. That mistake in the upgrade is proving to perhaps be the fatal flaw. The gold base is going to be the evacuation point for this fourth base, so FireCake not dead just yet. He's actually up 50 supply. Needs to be careful with these Mutalisks. Ultra's about to pop out, and they're going to be supported by some Banelings, as well as upgraded Zerglings here in just a second. But FireCake up against it right now, as you would say, Claris, and here we go. That's going to be the force he's going to swell forward. He needs to get revenge, basically. If he can trap this army bitmap and win decisively, that'd be great. But it looks like, I mean, that's a lot of Terran. He might not be able to win this outright, but let's see how we go. He's pushing forward. Widowmine's burrowing. Huge connections to a lot of the Zerglings. The Zerglings just evaporated. It's all Mutalisks and Ultras here, but they are chasing back pretty well.
The Banelings needed to do quite a bit. Yeah, thankfully for him, he still has those Ultralisks, which do force this on away. Can't really trade off against the Mutalisks, but the Medevacs have survived. He needs to get more bio here. The Ultralisks are just going to charge on on the warpath. And at the moment, all the bio's going to come down here, try and save this out. It's not looking like it's going to be able to save the Planetary Fortress, but if you can trade off against some of the Ultralisks, that might not be too bad.
MarineLorD's got to be careful. He was trying to save his 5th base. He doesn't really need that 5th base. He was able to kite back his Bioforce. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is if he would have committed everything to protecting that base, he could have potentially put the entire game on the line for him. Losing that 5th base does not lose him the game. Losing his army and the 5th base, absolutely. But MarineLorD, again, showing that rising talent to just take a deep breath and say, okay, look. I'm down in supply. I was up a base, fine. We're on equal bases again, that's okay. But I'm going to try to win elsewhere, not put it all right there.
Needs to stall it out here, does MarineLorD, though. This is quite the strong army. This is FireCake's window. He did not start 3-3. This is his window. He's almost maxed out on the army at the moment. MarineLorD does have a spot of weakness that could be exploited. He doesn't have the army he wants. It's not exactly in the position that it needs to be to rival the amount of Banelings, the amount of Ultralisks that are going to tank here for FireCake.
And once again, Claris, you pointed out something that, while subtle, could end up being a big deal, unless I've completely mistaken. 3-3 is not started for FireCake, so, I mean, he has 900 gas. He is starting the Greater Spire, so perhaps he's thinking, no, it's not going to be 3-3 where I win. It's going to be the surprise Broodlord tech. Maybe that's what he's doing, but otherwise, this is just a mistake. This is just him forgetting, again, critical upgrades. So we'll have to see how that pans out here in a moment. He's rich in resources. He's got 3,000 and 1,200 gas.
The more this goes on, the more Marauders are being added to the composition. There's a few Corruptors now in the production tab. This is another key for FireCake to try and unlock surviving here in this best of 3 to keep his hopes alive in the World Championship Series. Small drop into this gold-based mineral line. This will be cleaned up pretty fast. The drilling claws actually went very, very fast.
Yeah, they're very quick.
Yeah, but
kind of a scary thing. He's making 5 Corruptors. But that's all he can make. He needs to get rid of some of these Ling Banelings, but the second he gets rid of the Ling Banelings, there's the chance that that's when MarineLorD strikes, and Ultras by themselves against a Marauder medevac heavy armor, not going to do it. So there's a little bit of a tension here.
I can't help but wonder if MarineLorD even knows about the upgrade situation at the moment, because this is quite.
Does FireCake know about the upgrade situation?
No, not at all. He's got the gas, he's got the minerals, not at all.
Okay, so here's one of the scary things about this map. We can see MarineLorD positioning himself on the right side of the map. He wants to threaten the gold, but in doing so, it opens up position for the Zerg to take off the left side of the map, which there's 3 bases. But then, to make it even more confusing, the Terran can just pick up and drop inside the main. So this map, Vonnie Research Station, it's got its own peculiarities kind of built into it, and I really like it that way.
Broodlord's morphing in now here. He's going to try and swing in to do something about this. The gold base has been denied successfully here by MarineLorD, but where are those Broodlords? Does he have eyes on them? Where are they morphing in currently?
MarineLorD has no idea. And when they hit, they're going to hit hard. I mean, he's got a mostly Marauder army. He has no Vikings. He has no answer for this. He has none.
Does he only have 1 starport as well? I mean, regardless of what that is, what the answer to that is, here it comes the Banelings and Ultras. They can't really do too much against this Bioforce, though. And now he sees the Broodlords. How is he going to deal with this? Has to sky back against the Ultralisks at the front.
The worst thing FireCake could do is throw his Ultras into the clutches of that Terran army. He loses all, but all of a sudden these Broodlords aren't really supported. So again, I don't necessarily think there's enough Marines here to kill the Broodlords. It's close. But FireCake made a huge mistake. He jumped forward into a concave of 3-3 upgraded Marauders with medevacs, and man, did they melt so fast. But here, again, there's nothing for the Broodlords. This Bioforce will have to get pushed off. But imagine if there was Broodlords and Ultras still waiting right here. There was no reason for those Ultras to die.
And now, I mean, there's a lot of Marines in production here. Viking started production as well. FireCake is once again on a timer. He needs to keep himself alive. This is his last chance.
15 Marines at a time.
Oh,
these Ultras, excuse me, these Broodlords are now no longer protected by negative space. They have to be really careful. There's enough Terran to come in here on it.
And MarineLorD did a good job.
And here he comes.
He did a good job of keeping his Ultralists alive. Sorry, his Marauders alive. He needs to keep those for the Ultralists.
It's too much.
So that the anti-air can get in here underneath us if he wants to. He still has a lot of Marines left over alive here. He's even thinning the numbers of the Broodlings whilst these Ultralists are dying off. FireCake is pinning all of his hopes on this, but it's not going to be enough.
The Manor Mule.
The Mule onto the Broodlords. MarineLorD knows he's been able to crush that force and is going to march on to victory. There is very, very little left here, Jeff.
Nothing, Caleres. It's a 50 supply advantage for MarineLorD. He played a patient game number 1, showing that he has what it takes to sit on a stage like this and play at championship level. FireCake has made mistakes in positions where he could have taken a decisive victory. Nice bungles there, but it's too little too late, Caleres. He loses the middle base. He has no way in an army, and this Terran army is running rampant.
He tried, but it looks like MarineLorD is going to make it 2 for 2 for our Millennium French boys in the round of 8 here. The Ultralist dies off. There's nothing else that FireCake has to deal with, and he will be falling down. Another Mule comes down. MarineLorD knows he's in full control here, knows that this is one of the biggest results of his life. GG! MarineLorD moves on to the round of 8, vanquishing one of his nemesises from the French scene and making quite the name for himself. What
a great way to see him come out on here. He had his back up against the wall against a countryman who has beaten him in the past, is known to be one of the best Zergs, and yet he rose above, made the fewest mistakes, and played brilliantly. I could not be any more proud of this young man. What a great series.
Changing it from game to game, from mech to bio, and able to vanquish FireCake. Let's hear from the man himself. It is MarineLorD.
Indeed, and before we ask anything else, I want to ask, honestly, how good do you feel right now, taking down FireCake and moving on to the round of 8?
That was my first goal, to achieve a round of 8, so I'm very happy, obviously. No, I hope I will go further, but I'm really happy.
Awesome, awesome. A big round of applause for the man who went through a very, very long game 1 on Coda. Absolutely intense. But, you know, after that matchup and then going into the second map, of course, another map just well designed for that mech play. Were you feeling pretty good after the first win?
I didn't want to make twice. He was dealing quite well with it, so I wasn't 100% confident. On the game 2, Vanny, I like it as bio, so I just played bio. He played quite well, and I was impressed. I expected him to play not as good as that. So yeah, good game. Yeah, bio OP hype.
Bio OP, yeah, switching up a little bit on that map number 2. Now, MarineLorD, like you said, I mean, you've achieved that goal of going to the quarterfinals. Now you're in that spotlight. I want to emphasize again, it doesn't mean that you're only in the quarterfinals. You're in the top 8 players this season in the Premier League. How much further do you want to go? Is your goal now, I want to take that trophy?
This season I plan to go in round of 8. Next season I will win, but this season I'm not confident enough. I hope I will have Stardust. I think I can beat him. Hydra and Lilbo are very strong, so I'm not sure. So yeah, if I get Stardust, I'm quite sure that I can beat him.
All right, well, looking to try to match up with Stardust in the quarterfinals. Another big round of applause for Millennium MarineLorD, who will be moving on to the quarterfinals.
MarineLorD's highest result to date was just around a 32 at a DreamHack. Today, he gets top 8 in the World Championship Series here in Canada. A massive moment for the youngster. Joined here on the desk with Todd and Pig. A very long game 1, but a very decisive game 2 there that really was actually looking like FireCake could have taken down MarineLorD there, Pig.
Yeah, backstage we were watching that and we were thinking, oh, this is going to a game 3, but oh, those forgotten upgrades from FireCake were absolutely massive, and MarineLorD just using that huge army supply advantage, really, really commanding way to close out that game.
I think really the engagements as well were very decisive. That was some of the best, pre-split and setup that he used on his bio here to win a lot of these fights.
Yeah, really a good series, and happy to see MarineLorD go through to the top 8. Let's take a look at the bracket here. We've completed Group B, which means we're going to be moving through to Group C very, very shortly. But in Group B, we had in first place, of course, the reigning champion Port is playing tomorrow And now MarineLorD is the one to advance over Harstem and FireCake to find himself in his first ever top 8 in his StarCraft II career. A long time coming, people have said, Todd.
Yeah, you know, he's one of these guys that I talked about earlier, saying basically that he's been around for a long time, he's been practicing hard for a long time, doing well online, not particularly in WCS, but it was bound to happen. For some of these guys, it's always bound to happen in a tournament like this, especially when you look at the round of 16, and this season we had a lot of the different names than the ones that we had in the previous season. So he's definitely, I think from now, going to be considered as one of the, the top contenders, or definitely top 8 material, I think, after this tournament.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to get ready for the next half of the day. It's going to be Group C, and coming onto stage very soon is TLO, who gets a chance to redeem himself after yesterday's performances, and he goes up against Ayasonu, the last remaining Chinese player. Before that, though, In Control went out into Toronto again, this time to find out who would you rather date, Rotterdam or Jaedong?
How's it going, everybody? This is In Control. We're going to go around Toronto and ask some questions. We're going to ask them about Jaedong and